This video, we're going to make pizza dough using the bread recipe. Now, this is a special request by one of my viewers, and I'm going to do all of this by hand to show that you can make this bread recipe or pizza dough without a stand-up mixer or a fancy bread machine. So if you want to use your standing mixer to help cut down on knead time, that's perfectly fine. But you're still going to want to add these ingredients in this specific order. So let's get baking. First thing we're going to do is we are going to add our oil and our honey and then add in hot water into a smaller bowl. We're also going to add egg and salt. And then we're going to mix it slightly together. In your big bowl, separately, we're going to go ahead and add half of the flour, freshly milled flour. I'm going to go ahead and add my yeast and my lecithin, and I'm going to mix it together. Now we're going to dig a well and add in our wet ingredients. Now you're going to mix this together slowly, and then you're going to add the rest of your flour gradually. But you're going to stop adding flour once you have a small, soft ball formed. So about when you get to the point to where it will no longer stick on your spatula, you're going to go ahead and pour it out onto the mat. And we're going to knead the rest of the little bit of flour back into the dough. So you're going to knead your dough for about 5 to 6 minutes. Add oil to your hands as needed. If you need to add more flour, you're going to do that in this process as well. It's going to feel a little sticky. That's normal. See, I need more oil. A key tip to know that your dough is kneaded enough is if you press down on it and it springs back up towards you. So you can't really see my fingerprint. Now that we know that the dough has been kneaded enough, we're going to go ahead and let it rest. Now, a good key tip for this is also to take like a light tea towel here, wet it with some really hot water, squeeze out the excess, and then you're going to cover your bowl and you're going to let it sit and rise to allow air circulation and heat in and out. So while your dough is rising, you can go ahead and cut any fresh vegetables you want with your pizza. We like tomatoes, and the adults like mushrooms, the kids do not. So I'm not making as much mushrooms, but you can just get your stuff, your toppings ready. Okay, our pizza dough is ready to come out. I put mine in my oven because I have a bread-proof setting for it. So it warms it to about 100 degrees. I have a pizza stone that I like to cook my pizza on. I have another one that is rectangular as well. As you can see, we like to make pizza. That is why it's discolored. So go ahead, and if you have a pizza stone, you're going to go ahead and put it in your oven and preheat it to 400. And then we're going to go ahead and get our pizza put together. All right, so you're going to turn your bread dough out. I'm going to put a little bit more flour down just to make sure that it doesn't stick, because we're going to cut it in half. Easy peasy. Alright, so I'm going to stick that one back in there. We're going to put it aside. So I'm going to go ahead and shape it into a circle here and get rid of the little crease lines so that it's all blended. It blends well together. And I'm going to take my handy dandy roller and I'm going to go ahead and start rolling out my pizza dough. So I'm going to go ahead and flip it over. Make it to the size that you need it. All right, I'm going to take my pizza peel and I'm going to measure it out to make sure that it's not overly large to put on here. And I'm gonna go ahead, which it's not, it's good. I'm gonna go ahead and put some corn meal on the bottom. So, because we're going to flip this over. So this top portion is going to become the bottom portion of our pizza. I'm gonna spread this around and get it in. So I'm gonna peel it. You want to make it slightly larger than the actual pan that you have, or mine is my peel, because when you go to flip it into that pan, it is going to shrink down just a little bit to fit the perfect size. So next, we get to add your toppings. In my family, we like to use Mead's pizza sauce here. That is because it is about as close as you can get to homemade pizza sauce. Now, I would have made my own pizza sauce if my tomato crop had done very well. I'm learning still. But in the ingredients, it is tomato puree, tomato paste, sugar, salt, sea salt for that matter, olive oil, onions, garlic. There is citric acid in here, which I know some people can be allergic to, and it just has spices and oregano in it.
Yes.
All right, you can do this any way that you want. It doesn't necessarily need to be this way. Let's put some tomatoes on. And smush that stuff down. And now we're gonna put our pepperoni on. So you're gonna let this just kind of rest and sit for about 10 minutes before you put it in the oven, so the dough is not so thin. All right, so second one. And we're gonna repeat the process. I'm gonna make a rectangle for this one. Okay, so the pizzas went in the oven, so we're gonna wait about 20 minutes and then we're gonna check on them. Now, if the cheese is not melted all the way, you're gonna wanna add a little bit more time and watch it. So let's check our pizzas. All right, top one is done. I'm gonna turn it off. Pepperonis are extra crispy. This one was the one that sat for 10 minutes, and this one over here, I put in the oven real quick to get it going. So if you can tell the difference, the crust and the dough itself raised some, versus the one that is over here is a lot more thin because we didn't allow the time for it to raise that extra 10 minutes. One of the things I want to stress is that these stones, you cannot cut on these stones. You will eventually break your stone by that because of the metal it's just too much pressure. Just trust me, don't do it. So I'm gonna let these sit for just a few minutes to cool down so that I can remove them and then put them on a cutting board. Normally I take it off the stone, but I don't have to. And now I'm gonna put it on my, woo, look at that bad boy go. So I did all of that by hand just to show that it is possible. Now, if you have a bread machine that will mix the dough for you, or a standing mixer, or even a little kitchen assistant appliance to help you through this, it'll make it a lot easier and a lot faster on you. So tell me down below what your thoughts are, and if you have any questions about kneading or the consistency of your dough, or if you just in general need help. Well, that probably was really loud.